Hey, this is Tussled Slussel. Today we are not at La Jolla Shores, and you can probably tell that by the fact that we're diving in a beautiful kelp forest. This forest is, I'm pretty sure, unknown by most scuba divers in the area, because it's not really advertised as a scuba diving site. It's pretty much right off Moonlight Beach. Like, just go to the main area, just walk out, and battle your way through the waves if they're big, and they can be pretty big in this area. And you'll kind of see perturbed water in the distance. You swim out, like maybe 10 minutes, and then drop down about 18 feet. There's a giant kelp forest. This forest appears to be exceptionally healthy. As you can see, most of these kelp are going up almost to the surface, so they're all about 20 plus feet tall. And because it's a little shallow, they're also, you can kind of see in some of these shots, they're definitely rolling in the waves. And in fact, actually, this whole dive, because it's so shallow, we get tossed around most of the dive. Kelp itself is quite amazing. It's the largest algae in the ocean and one of the fastest growing organisms on the entire planet. So under good conditions, it can grow up to 2 feet in a single day and reach well over 100 feet tall. And I know this is true because Catalina Island, you're at like 80 feet and you could be swimming through kelp that is growing all the way to the surface. Moonlight Beach is interesting because it's a sandy beach. Like, there's sand everywhere. It's a sandy beach. However, it has a little ways out kind of this hard sandstone, I believe, rock. Then the sand just lightly covers it. So it's like this field of very flat stone-like material. I think it's sandstone material. And the kelp pretty much latches onto that. It's not growing in the sand itself. It's latched onto that like sandstone, which anchors it in place. What one would think of as roots for a terrestrial plant is called a holdfast for these giant kelp. In the holdfast, normally when we're in like the La Jolla Shores area, will kind of grow around like a rock that's exposed, and that's how the kelp anchors itself. The kelp here, you do see some of it growing along exposed rocks, but a lot of it seems to just kind of be flat against this sandstone, this flat sandstone. I wish I had actually taken some video of the holdfast itself. This dive itself felt a lot like kind of going through a forest. It felt like an adventure. I was following my buddy, but I was also kind of keeping to myself, kind of on his peripheral. And it was very relaxing. The scenery was beautiful. And we came to some of these clearings with a bunch of, some of the same stuff that you'd see at like the Rocky Reef in La Jolla Cove. Lots of Garibaldi. And at some point here, we saw a horn shark hanging out, not really doing much. Horn sharks, I believe, are nocturnal and don't really do a whole lot during the day. You can tell by how the plants and the fish are moving that there's quite a bit of wave activity pushing everything back and forth. We're pretty heavy, so we don't move as readily as the other stuff, but we definitely feel it on this dive. We're definitely being pulled around as we're diving. One thing that did interest me is this area is actually very similar in geography to the La Jolla Cove Rocky Reef. And yet in this area, you don't really see any sea urchin or sea cucumber. And I wonder if that's just because they're not like readily here breeding, or if there's some other reason that would prevent them from being in this area. Like, you see tons of sea urchins and sea cucumbers in the other site, and then here you pretty much see none. You see tons of Garibaldi though. Oh, you know what's another one you don't see is sheep's head. I don't think I saw any sheep's head in this area really. Maybe if you see them throughout the video, let me know. But I don't see a single large sheep's head in this area. Right here, I'll zoom in on it in a second here. My dive buddy's shown me that he sees a horn shark. So that's a horn shark just chilling right there. Not really doing much. And there's a lobster right behind him. And back to the kelp area. We were kind of going in and out of kelp forest as we were going along this dive. So a question I have for the experienced recreational divers, tech divers, etc. is, when you set up your dive computers for like standard recreational dives, how do you think about the conservatism? Do you use gradient factors? Do you do just the strict versus liberal decompression algorithm, or I guess dive profile algorithm? How do you think about the difference between the extremely conservative and the extremely liberal, and which do you feel safer using, or do you use the one right in the middle? Me personally, I dive with a Sunto Ocean, which I like. In hindsight, I probably would have bought a Perdix. I'll probably buy that later just because it has the larger screen. It's a little bit more customizable. So I dive the most conservative gradient factor, or I guess the most conservative gradient on the Sunto Ocean. And the reason for that is I think it holds me a little bit more accountable. So like, it's pretty often when I'm on dives with guys that I will get to the point where I'm going into deco on the conservative computer function, and I'll know, well, I'll be turning as it's switching over, and it's never more than like 1 or 2 minutes at 10 feet. So if I was on the standard range for this computer, it would definitely put me at a safe to dive NDL, no NDL sort of situation. Just do the safety stop, etc. And the surface up along the shoreline, especially for La Jolla Shores, is so gradual that by the time I actually get to the 20-foot mark to do my safety stop, I've already clicked back into a no deco dive. So it's only very briefly that it would be considered a deco dive, I guess. Well, I guess it is a deco dive, but I don't know. Anyways, I've actually been thinking lately of taking it from the most conservative to the middle ground, so that I'm kind of more in line with a lot of my dive buddies. But then also, I have on my mind, maybe just do nitrox from now on, so I'm always kind of in a better place than my dive buddies, and I can respond accordingly. But then if I'm on nitrox, then I have to be thinking about gas analysis every single time I dive, and then that adds another layer of complication. And in my mind, the more layers of complication you add, the more your risk goes up. So that's why I've been hesitant to transition fully to nitrox, except for on special dives where it would be advantageous, because your safety margin goes up in some places. It actually goes down in other places, especially if you're filling at different stores and you don't have a personal gas analyzer that you trust. So there's trade-offs left and right with this kind of stuff. Anyways, back to the dive. This was a great dive. I had a lot of fun. The funny thing is I'm talking about conservatism on computers, and this dive was 20 feet the whole way. It wouldn't matter where your conservatism was. This would be a no decompression limit dive for sure. Anyways, I'll let you guys just enjoy the last little bit of this video, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks. Dive on.